10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you and thankful that you're here with us on this April the 11th, 2025. It's Friday, weekend's coming up, so that should be good news for many people working, 5-day-a-week work schedule. Weekends mean something, others maybe not so much. But anyways, for those that the weekend actually is something, it's the weekend coming up, so it's something to look forward to. And today will be a great show, guaranteed, as usual. We got lots to talk about. There's never a shortage of news, so that's the whole thing about doing a news podcast, discussing the news, not firsthand gathering information and writing articles like other journalists do, but taking their offerings and asking some further questions and discussing it and trying to understand it is what we do on the show. It's a news talk show. It's where we share our views on the news. It's where you have a conversation on your station, which is CKLU 96.7 FM right here in Greater Sudbury. The station's been around since 1984. Started off in a humble trailer at the university campus, and now it's located at the corner of Elgin and Elm Street in the old Telegraph building, now part of the MacEwan School of Architecture under Laurentian University. We're also streaming online at cklu.ca. Just click on the Radio Player Canada app. You can stream us that way. You can download that same Radio Player Canada app, and you can take us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. And all the great programming from CKLU you can take with you and listen to. You just check out the schedule at cklu.ca, see what's on and when, and you can catch it. Also, you can donate, because that's the way we keep the lights on and the airways open, is by people like yourself, great people who are donating to the cause. It's something that's, if you feel it's worthwhile, you can just make a donation, or you can buy some of the merch that we have at the website as well. You just check out, we got coffee mugs, we got we got t-shirts, we got hats, we got everything. So, and nothing looks cooler than a CKLU t-shirt. I just have to say that. All right, I'll wear mine on one of the shows just to show that. We're also streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the channel and the page. Our other social medias as well, the show will be found on demand, which is those two platforms, along with x.com/Sudbury News. You can also find it at sudbury.news at the Sudbury News Talk tab. And remember, for all the latest local news aggregated into one convenient webpage, sudbury.news is our news aggregator. It was made in response to the federal government's policies, which made it impossible for any news outlet to have a Facebook page or any of our citizens to share any news, whether it be local, whether it be provincial, national, or international news. It's not able to be shared on the largest social media platform in the world. We're the only country who has Facebook who are not allowed or able to share news on it. Can you imagine that? Does that make sense to you? Is that the kind of country that you want? I'd like whoever it is in the government to be able to negotiate with these international social media platforms, companies, to be able to do something as simple as sharing news. That's really a convenient way to get information around to people, is like, hey, I found this article and I want to share it. And then people comment on it. What a great thing that is. It's really, something that every other country other than ours is able to do. So that's interesting, right? And you might say to yourself, well, that's because they wanted to make local journalists money and they're trying to support local journalists. Well, in doing that, they prevented them from being able to share their news in a way that was so convenient. None of the journalist outlets asked for that. Nobody did. The government just went ahead and said, we want to do something for you. Let's see how this goes. And we see how it went. All right. Yeah, so we see how that went. But anyways, we saw a need, and we made the news aggregator Sudbury.news. And that is free of charge to all of the news outlets in town, TV Northern Ontario, CBC, Sudbury Star, and Sudbury.com. So all come on to the news aggregator. And that's where we get a lot of our stories from that we talk about, obviously. And it's a way to just keep local journalism alive. And I didn't need billions of dollars to do it. I did it on my own budget, did it myself, threw it up there, and that's how simple it can be. Websites don't need to cost millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, as we see some of our federal tax dollars going to these news agencies to give them money for their websites. Well, as you can see, you can do it on a shoestring. And maybe for $10,000, you can have a deluxe, super deluxe website, right? So, we're doing our best to have transparency as we discuss the issues in our community and in our general area that we live in and in the world. So welcome to you. If it's the first time you've been on the show, make sure to comment. We'll do our best to get your comments up on the screen for those watching, read for those listening. And at some point in the show, we do move on. So it's not because I see a certain comment and I don't want to read it. It's that at a certain point, we got to move on with what we're going to be talking about in the news, right? And then you're able to continue the conversation during the show and after the show on Facebook mainly. That's where the conversation continues, but you can also continue to comment on YouTube as well. Make sure to like our other social medias like x.com. We don't have all that many subscribers on X. I'm not sure, maybe that's just because many people in our area don't use it, but it's a really great platform where you can actually still share the news. So maybe everyone should get an X account, because you're able to then see the news from different news outlets. You can follow the different pages from different news outlets, so that's a social media platform that's not censored, or a policy doesn't prevent them from being able to share news, right? So encourage you to head on over to X, and while you're there, follow our Sudbury News page. Okay, we're just going to head into some weather here. It's always interesting. Weather's always interesting when you live in Sudbury, and it's no different today. And when we come back, we'll discuss the news headlines. We'll have your comments and more right after this. And weather brought to you by Voyager Tire, voyagertire.com. Visit them online or in person at the intersection of Falconbridge, Kingsway, and 2nd Avenue. Let them know we sent you. Get a 10% discount on already discounted name brand tires. Always have a hard time with that. Anyways, -6 degrees. It feels like -10. It's sunny, however, and today will continue to be sunny. Wind chill will be -10 this morning. High of 9 today. High of 9 today. Tonight, clear with a low of -7. Saturday, mainly sunny. Wind chill -10 in the morning. And the high tomorrow will be 10 degrees. So it'll be -10 will be the low, +10 will be the high. That's similar to life in Sudbury. You can go anywhere from -30 to +30 in no time. A pretty huge range of temperatures here. But as you can see, it was originally supposed to be sunny on Saturday and partly sunny on Sunday, but now it's cloudy with a high of 6. Rain on Monday with a high of 10. And then we could have flurries. 60% chance of rain or flurries on Tuesday with a high of 3. And then a 30% chance of flurries on Wednesday with a high of +8. That's an interesting forecast, meaning that it's +8 with flurries. Then +9 on Thursday with a mix of sun and cloud. Look at your satellite, you can see it's mainly clear, other than over the Great Lakes. You have the cloud activity, but totally clear over Sudbury. And that's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by Voyager Tire. Great people, great products, great prices. Let them know we sent you. 10% discount for you. We'll be back with news headlines and comments right after this. Okay, we're back. Thanks for sticking around. Quite a few people joining us for a Friday. A lot of times Fridays, a little less people for some reason. I guess a lot of people have the day off or not able to get on the show or starting their weekend early. But today, it looks like a pretty regular day. Northern Hillbilly joining us as one of the first people on YouTube. Good morning to you. Disabled Kane chiming in here. Yes, if you've got a brand new pair of roller skates, I have a brand new key. Is that how the song goes? And good morning to you. Good morning, Nancy. I'm echoing. I'm not sure why, but let's see here. See if I do something here. If that will help. Okay, hopefully I'm not echoing anymore. Not sure why I would be. Let's see if other people, sounds like you're talking through a pipe. Okay, so let's see if we got this thing going on. No, USB is working. We'll try and figure it out. Let's see. Nana, good morning to you. I'm not sure if the problem has figured itself out yet, or if it's just yourself. And Monique, good morning to you. Good morning, Sudbury. Smiley emoji with the sun shades on. Good morning, Judy. Hazel, good morning. Prayer emoji. Same to you, Hazel. And Marianne, good morning, everyone from Barrie. Hand clap emoji liked and shared as usual. Pat, good morning. Folks, peace sign. Sheila, good morning. Smiley emoji. There is an echo in my mic. You have an echo in your mic, but hear you great. Morning, Vin. Okay, I do have an echo. Everybody is saying that. Crazy, because nothing is different on my end. Everything is set up the way that it should be. But let's see. An election issue flying under the radar is the Liberal Finance Committee is planning to get the CRA to drop charitable status on religious organizations. Oh, that's interesting. So the federal government, the Liberal Finance Committee is planning to get the CRA to drop charitable status on religious organizations. Miles, if you could share any links that you have about that, that would be much appreciated, and I would be very interested into looking into that and unpacking that, because I know that's been going on for some time now. There's been a movement for that. But yes, thank you. Okay, there's an echo. I did do one thing that I thought might have solved the issue, so we'll see if that's done it now. Blessings, everyone. Denise. And good morning. Take care. Stay safe. That's David. Good morning to you guys. Pat. Geoengineering was disgusting yesterday in Sudbury. Sky was mostly whitish all day. And for those who don't know what geoengineering is, it's just they spray things in the sky in order to manipulate the weather. Main reason they say they do it is to cool down the earth from the warming that's going on. However, You'll notice it when you look up and you see long vapor trails, the name of the Rush album. They look, I guess, like cloudy material, but they're not clouds, because whenever you heard of the long, thin cloud, that's not a type of a cloud. That's a jet trail. And if you say it's a contrail, well, contrails don't stay in the sky and then turn into clouds. So it's something called geoengineering. If you don't know what it is, head on over to geoengineering.org. And whether you believe it should be there or not, it's going on. And the first thing is to know that it's happening, and then the next is to say, is this the best thing for us? But we haven't got to that point yet, because a lot of people don't even believe it's happening, even though it's going on over our own heads. Oh, no volume now. Well, that's very interesting, why that would even occur. Well, I got volume over here. Must be something going on social media. Things have happened from time to time. Anything's possible, as it says in our opening. Anything's possible. Morning. I'm just going to carry on, hoping that things kind of work themselves out, because nothing's changed on my side whatsoever. And just hope that the issues work themselves out. No, I won't be reopening my franchise. That's long gone. I do not want to open any more restaurants whatsoever in my entire life. Although it was a great learning experience, it was an expensive one. And Liette, good morning everyone from Collingwood, hand clap emoji. We do have quite a few people on. If I don't have any sound, that's interesting that people are hanging around the way that they're doing. In Barrie and surrounding area are always gray skies. Let me see if it's coming through on CKLU. The volume does seem to be coming through on CKLU, so that's good. We're still on the radio. It's coming through over here, so it's just on social media then. In Barrie and surrounding areas are always gray skies. We're lucky if the sun comes out. If it does, it's normally around 5 p.m. and right back to the gray skies an hour later. Now, this is the thing. When I was driving down to Barrie, you could see there was a wall of clouds just right over Barrie. It was sunny the whole time until getting just to Barrie, and then there was a big wall of clouds from there all the way to southern Ontario, and I know what you're talking about. Okay, that's the same message. I thought someone else might have said the volume's back on. I don't use X or any other social media platform. Try minimizing my online footprint. Okay, got you on that one. And Liette, okay, it's always gloomy. So again, you could just have to study for yourself something called geoengineering, and go to geoengineeringwatch.org, and basically that's a group of people that's dedicated their whole lives to that subject. Good morning from Niagara. That's Betty Zoom. Good morning. Hopefully you can hear me. Yeah, for sure. Social media being on there is you have a footprint no matter what. So, which is somewhat aggravating when people share stuff from other platforms and you can't see it. Yeah, I get that all the time. Someone will send me a TikTok video. I know there's many of you who will share a TikTok video, but I don't have TikTok on my phone, right? So it just says, oh, install TikTok, and I'm not going to do that. I'm still echoing. Okay. So good morning to the room. That's Betty Zoom. That rhymes. And yeah, so I'm not sure about the echoing thing. Sorry about that, y'all. I really regret that that's going on and you have to listen to the show with an echo. It's unfortunate. It's never happened before. No, there's no speakers. There's no speakers in the room. There's nothing different that's happened this morning with my setup whatsoever. So it's a social media thing, more than likely. And let me see if I can hear an echo in my earphones. Let's see here. Now I know. Thanks for that. You know, it wasn't an echo. That was like a reverb thing. It was like in the studio when you're going to sing. I should have sung a song. You know? Okay, I know what I did now. Thanks, everyone. Just whoever asked me to put the earphones, because that I was able to hear what everyone was hearing. Okay. It sounded pretty ominous there. All right. Never thought I would ever see the day when Canadians were censored and dedicated that one could see or hear on the news, one censored and dictated that what one can see or hear on the news. And this mandate came from a so-called democratic government. Correct. We are the only country, and I've done my research on this, that has Facebook and it's not able to have news on it or share news on Facebook. We are the only ones. Other countries, there's, I think, 6 or 7 of them that prohibit Facebook altogether or have forms of censorship, but we're the only one who totally has it, and they say they don't censor it, and we just make it illegal or make it so that way there's a policy where, because Facebook isn't paying our journalists for their content, which, you know, every other country it's okay to do that, but Canada wants to be a pioneer in this or something, to make Facebook pay journalists when journalists actually want their news to be shared on Facebook. You know, but the government comes in and goes, no, we're going to make this a thing. And no one even talks about it. But yeah, thanks for the earphone thing, Vince. I was able to hear what the issue actually was. Yeah, hit the thumbs up, people. That's Betty from Niagara. Thank you very much. We can see in our country is still the will of the what we see in our country is the will of the gatekeepers still spending sunshine money. So much money to go around, right? Diane, good morning to you. Good morning, Lucy. Smiley emoji, right? Okay, so let's see what we got. Yeah, so why does it seem we the people allow them to poison us? And so again, we have to at least acknowledge that they're spraying things, and Vin is suggesting there's graphene in some of the chemical agents that are sprayed over our heads almost on a daily basis. And here's the link from Miles about the CRA trying to, or at least the government trying to get the CRA to take away the religious tax exemption that they have. Just religious status has charitable status. So religions have a charitable status. So this is the article from the Catholic News Agency. Obviously, they're going to be watchdogs for that, and that would change things so much. And yeah, it would make it so hard for many religions out there to function. And good morning to you, Mike. Okay, for sure. No, it was my doing on my end. That was my fault. So even though I said everything's the same, there was one particular feature on one of my devices. Anyways, it's an effect. So that's what it was. It was an effect on my voice, because I have all kinds. I'll give you guys an example here now that we're talking about it. So here's the sound that I had at the beginning of the show. And I could be talking like that as well, or like this, another echo, or a real big echo, or something like that, less of an echo, and then back to nothing. Okay. That was fun. No? Okay, they're passing bills to stop the sky spraying, geoengineering in the States. That is true. Florida just had all kinds of legislation passed over that, about that. If it's not true, then why are they passing bills? High time we find out what's being sprayed and who is doing it. Tired of the lies? 1,000,000%. Okay, cool. Good morning, Andrew. Thanks for being on with us this morning. And so Miles is saying the push by the federal government to get rid of charitable status for religions, the most influenced article, but there are many if you search. So this seems to be the most influenced article, but there are many if you search. So, okay, thanks for sharing that article, Miles. I'm going to be reading that later. Okay. So let's head on. We got all kinds of things to talk about today. We had an interview with Bob Johnston yesterday and Tom Price, and they were basically alleging that the city is saying that the event center and arena is going to cost a certain amount, and they are not being forthright with the amounts that they're giving to the citizens on what it's going to cost, and there's all kinds of issues surrounding that. So they had a presentation last night at Grace Family Church where they were presenting these figures to people. They streamed it live on Bob's Facebook page. You can go and watch it there. Bob Johnston, you can see the presentation that they did. I got some word from others that said that their information is not true, that they shared on the show. And so with everything, you just want, you need to do your own research on things. You listen to information. You don't just take it at face value. And you do your own thinking, first of all, and then your own research. You can't just take whatever you hear and believe it, right? And that's the same with the city when they're telling you things. And that's what journalism is supposed to be for, is to ask the hard questions, is to dig into things and see what's really going on and hold people in power accountable, right? That's what media has historically been to do, journalism. But in a world where we find that less and less the case, citizens have to do it, and then they're kind of ostracized by, well, who are you to say these things, right? Because you're not a journalist or whatever. But if journalists were actually doing the job, then people wouldn't have to do that, and there wouldn't be such a strong independent media these days due to that. So, if you get a chance, you can watch it for yourself and see what they say, and you can question them, I'm sure, if you have questions and you say, look, you guys said this, is that true? Or whatever, or look up the stats that they say and make your own conclusions. Don't believe everything you hear. And that's the danger in media too, right? If media is compromised, like we have our federal government subsidizing our journalists, our media in Canada to the tune of billions of dollars. So when that's the case, you can't really expect them to hold the very people that are paying them accountable. It's a very hard thing to do. And I don't fault them for that. I'm just saying the way that it's set up is it's really hard for them to do their job, to hold the very people who are paying their salaries and paying their organizations accountable. And good morning to you, Scott. Thanks for being on. So there you have it. And speaking of our news aggregator, we talked about that earlier. That's our service to the community. So that way, because we're not able to share news on Facebook or Instagram for that matter, We get our news from all of the local news outlets, but it's aggregated into Sudbury.news, which is our web page. Shuttered Espanola Mill may have a buyer in BMI Group. This is coming from Sudbury.com. Brownfield developer looks to finalize a deal with Domtar to acquire a pulp and paper plant, which closed in 2023. Now, the residents of Espanola, they've heard this before. They're very skeptical about these things. But if you want to know more about that and see if it has any validity to it, you can check out Sudbury.com today and read that article. I know people in Espanola would very much like to see something happen in that regard. Big time, right? Mass timber being used in industrial construction in Sudbury for the first time. Developer on Cambrian Heights Drive is enjoying the question he's getting about the new type of building his company is erecting just off one of Sudbury's main streets. That's Notre Dame. So if you're at McDonald's, and instead of turning into McDonald's, you take the other way to Cambrian Heights Drive at the lights, you'll see this huge, massive building being constructed. And it's true, they're using a lot of timber for an industrial building, like in an industrial park, pretty much. And usually they're just using steel. But these guys are using timber. I thought that was interesting too. So for more on that, that's from CBC. This is also from Sudbury.com. Trump tariff whiplash draws pandemic parallels as Canadian businesses scramble. So Todd Rutter calls himself the most non-tech person you've ever met. I know a lot of those people. But he's turning to technology to lessen and lessons learned through the pandemic to help him weather the dizzying tariff policies of U.S. President Donald Trump. So that story from Sudbury.com, how local business owners are viewing the ups and downs of there's tariffs, there's no tariffs, there's tariffs, there's no tariffs, there's tariffs, right? It's an interesting tactic, and that's all that it is. It's a tactic, and I'm pretty sure I'm getting to the bottom of why the U.S. president is using that tactic, and it's an interesting one. And it's not all bad if you're looking at it from his point of view or his country's point of view. And we'll have more on that as we begin to make more sense of these tariffs and why they're here and what they're trying to accomplish. And Sudbury Star has their newsletter of the day each and every morning at about 7. They deliver it into your inbox, so you should go over to Sudbury Star, and basically subscribe to their newsletter, and you'll get this as well. Federal election 2025 gun group dismisses SEDE's support for gun rights. Canadian Shooting Sports Association critical of the Liberal candidate, Mark Sede, of formerly of Nickelbelt. Now it's Sudbury East, Nickelbelt, Manitoulin, something like that. And so the riding got huger, if that's a word. But Mark Sede in the news lately, right? We shared an article on our Facebook page recently, just yesterday. And I thought I was already there, but I guess I got to go on over to Sudbury News here, which just seems it's going extremely slow. And the show might be cut short today due to a storage issue. Let's see if I can fix it on the fly. I've never been able to do that before. But nope. So if the show ends, it's due to a storage issue on our iPad. So that will be the case. And I'm just looking for this article here. The Canadian Press had an article on Mark Sede about his, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, here we go. about him getting his status taken away as Métis. So Northern MP kind of shrugged his shoulders over Indigenous identity questions. Marc Serré is in the same boat as Randy Boissonneau in claiming to be Indigenous. Marc Serré officially kicked out of the Algonquin. Serré's still clinging to status, but Indigenous leaders are not buying it. So for more on that, you can just see on our Facebook page and then find the Canadian Press article where Marc Serré is talking about this. They're talking about him, per se. I still have to look at this storage issue on my device here, or the show might just end mid-show. Okay, so it looks like the Federal Election Gun Group dismisses Serré's support for gun rights. Serré sporting a beard these days. The Canadian Shooting Sports Association has taken aim at Liberal candidate Marc Serré's bona fides as a supporter of gun rights in Canada, which I know he's not. He's voted for all of the gun control measures that his government have proposed, so I'm sure that's why they're not supporting him. The association said Serré, who's running in a newly created riding, Sudbury, East Manitoulin, Nickel Belt, was asked a question about his Liberal government's banning additional hunting rifles. He says, actually, give me that hunting rifle number and I'll make sure that it's not on the list. And if it is, I'll get it off, he replied. So he actually said that. The Canadian Shooting Association was not impressed, however. We can only imagine the howls of laughter he received with that response that he said in a release. It's not an audacious claim for a Liberal backbench MP when he can't even speak to his party leader, let alone force changes in long-standing Liberal Party policy. Mr. Serré, if you're so powerful, why didn't you stop hunting rifles from being added to the May 2020 order in council ban list? Serré has been a Liberal MP for Nickel Belt for 10 years, but the riding was eliminated due to election boundary redistribution. The association says has a ton of members.
Started the moment he's no longer useful.
Many of you have reached out to me recently in thanks for Canada's compassionate response to the Syrian refugee crisis. Let me tell you something. When I welcomed those first families to Toronto last month, I welcomed them as new Canadians and as the future of the Canadian economy.
The sheep repeat whatever they're told. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. In Canada, they chant, follow the science, carbon tax good, or diversity is our strength. Never questioning, only obeying. They're told, surely you don't want Harper back. A constant fear trigger to keep the sheep from questioning the regime.
We lost 10 years on our path to 2030 because for 10 years, under the Harper Conservatives, nothing got done.
And the windmill, Orwell's great symbol of empty promises, was meant to make life easier, but it became a tool of control, keeping animals busy and distracted. In Canada, that windmill is the green energy revolution, a utopian fantasy used to justify crushing taxes, massive spending, and elite profiteering, while ordinary people freeze, pay more, and get less.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime and say, we need to go green as fast as we need to start, investing in solar. I mean, there is a flexibility that I know Stephen Harper must dream about of having a dictatorship that he could do everything he wanted.
Even the commandments are rewritten. Charter rights become privileges. During the Freedom Convoy, the Liberals unconstitutionally invoked wartime measures against peaceful protesters. Free speech became hate speech. Equality turned into equity. And a true justice system was replaced by two-tier enforcement and DEI hiring quotas, where your identity matters more than your merit. That's Canada today. Different name, same game. Until we confront the system itself, not just the figureheads, will remain trapped in Orwell's prophecy, watching the barn burn while the pigs feast.
My next guest in the past few years has reached great heights, really. He is very well respected among performers. He has an album. He writes and performs practically all of his own material.
You gotta love how Facebook, they love to get that video in right away, right after, but getting it played in the first place is like pulling teeth. There you go. So that was Blender news. Got to give credit where credit's due. Blender, they do a really good job of, that was an overview of making the connection between George Orwell's Animal Farm and what's been going on in Canada. And so if you're like, well, that's a stretch or whatever, here's a little bit more of, something a little bit more tangible, if you will.
Of corruption in Canada is incomprehensible. In a recent government hearing, it was revealed that Annette Verschuren, chair of the Liberals' Green Slush Fund, was handpicked by the Prime Minister's office. This despite the fact that companies she was directly involved with had already received over $12 million from the very fund she was being appointed to oversee, a glaring conflict of interest. After her appointment, those same companies received an additional $36 million in taxpayer funding, and this is just one fund. The Green Slush Fund alone is under investigation for the misappropriation of around $150 million. Now imagine there are dozens more just like it. Meanwhile, the average Canadian is paying more in taxes than they are for housing, food, and clothing combined. In other words, corrupt politicians are siphoning more from citizens than they're left with for their basic survival. This isn't just mismanagement, it's criminal. The amount of corruption in Canada is incomprehensible. In a recent government hearing, it was revealed that Annette Verschuren, chair of the Liberals' Green Slush Fund, was handpicked by the Prime Minister's office.
So there you go. It's just going to repeat itself like Reels do. One of the frustrating things about doing the show using Reels, but at the same time, you got to be on the ball. As we ran out of storage on one of our devices, and so it stopped recording, so Facebook went off, and then I just basically deleted all of the storage, all of the old shows that I had recorded on my iPad, and I had to do this real time during the show, and then I just hit record again, just not knowing even what would happen. I guess we're still live on YouTube, but for some reason, the Facebook one doesn't come back on. And Blender, I just want to continue to see if I have another Blender one yet. So, okay, this is the one I definitely wanted to play today. I'm not sure if it's a reel or it's a video or what it is. But anyways, we'll see. It's a reel. So it's going to, just got to get the volume right away as soon as it comes in. And it looks like things are a little wonky today, even though, it was things due to what's going on here with my own internet and stuff. But anyways, here you go.
Crossed a line no democracy should ever even approach, and almost nobody noticed. On April 1st, 2025, the Governor General of Canada quietly authorized a staggering $40,343,209,650 in government spending under a special warrant. The justification? That the sums were urgently required for the public good. No vote, no debate, no breakdown of where the money is going, just a vague schedule listing departments and totals. Canadians weren't consulted, Parliament wasn't consulted. The money simply vanished from the Consolidated Revenue Fund, rubber-stamped by an unelected Governor-General at the request of a Liberal government that's been ducking accountability for months. Let's rewind. Parliament has been shut down since October. Why? Because Justin Trudeau was facing a scandal over the so-called Green Slush Fund. A massive pile of taxpayer money, amounting to over $300 million, was looted by Liberal insiders. When questions began circling, Trudeau froze Parliament to avoid investigation. Then they conveniently broke for Christmas, giving themselves another month break from facing the consequences of their corruption. When Parliament was finally set to return, Trudeau prorogued it. this time to dodge a looming confidence vote that would have toppled his government under the weight of scandal. The official excuse? A leadership transition. In reality, the Liberals were in disarray and needed to install Mark Carney as Prime Minister without facing the Democratic consequences. Carney wasn't elected by the public, he was appointed through a manipulated party leadership race with just 150,000 Liberal members, 0.4% of the Canadian population. Independent candidates like Ruby Dalla were barred from running. The race was a sham designed to preserve power, not serve Canadians. Now, under Carney, it's the same cabinet, the same corruption, and the same incompetence. Marco Mendicino, who not only botched the Bernardo prison scandal, but also knew about the Chinese Communist Party manipulating our elections and chose to do nothing, is now serving as Carney's chief of staff. Meanwhile, this incomprehensibly corrupt regime just handed itself over $40 billion in new spending behind closed doors. With Parliament still prorogued, there was no democratic process, just a signature from an unelected Liberal-appointed Governor-General acting on the advice of a government that's been ruling without oversight for half a year. Canada just crossed a line no democracy should ever even approach.
Okay, and that's just, you're not going to hear that stuff in the mainstream news, and this is why we have independent journalists like Blender. They do such a good job, and they do a lot of these, independent inquiries and looking into the different things going on in the country that, you're just not, they're doing real journalism and what journalism used to be before they just basically give the talking points that are given to them by the PR groups of either large corporations or federal government. And journalism is its own thing, right? You have to basically ask the 5 W's and H of good reporting and continue until you get to the actual bottom of things. It's a thing. You got to have a thick skin if you're a journalist. You got to go into areas that aren't so comfortable sometimes, and you have to be the bearer sometimes of news that some people may not appreciate and may take exception to, but it is one of those things that journalists have to do. You have to be a certain kind of person to be one. It's not for everybody. And I really appreciate these people that are out here doing it. They're not being paid millions of dollars, they're not getting federal subsidies. They are just getting paid by their people that are making donations to them, or maybe some of the views they're getting on social media. And that's about it. And you have to hand it to them because, and again, if you think that it's not credible news, then you have to, anyways, even if a journalist was to tell you something, you can't just take that as face value. You never should. You need to find out for yourself. You need to get the facts. And in this day and age, it's so hard. There's so much going on. We seem bombarded by things. There's so much information out there that you would hope that we would have a free and open press that would be functional and thriving to be able to give us that perspective and be the watchdogs, so that way we wouldn't have to, because we're so busy paying 65% of our incomes in taxes and then taking the other 35% and trying to live on it. Now we also have to figure out everything that's going on in the world for ourselves. On top of that, it's pretty hard, right? So that's the kind of world we're living in these days. It's not going to get any easier. It's probably going to get more difficult, but we can stick together, try and make sense of the world that we live in, and we can do it together. So thanks everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate you, appreciate your time, appreciate the platforms that we're on. We'll be back same time, same place on Monday, God willing. And we'll also be here to have a whole show without technical difficulties. And we appreciate you for all you are. Continue to stay aware, like, share, take care. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM, and we'll see you on Monday. Ciao, everyone.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.